This is White Plains Week, the weekly roundup of White Plains, Westchester, and world news. With John Bailey, editor and publisher of the daily internet newspaper White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, WPCNR.com. Jim Benerofe, editor and publisher of SuburbanStreet.com and WhitePlains.com. And me, Peter Katz, formerly with NBC, ABC News, and stations from Boston to Los Angeles. White Plains Week, what's happening, who are the newsmakers, what's in store for the future. The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants. White Plains Week is presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76, Verizon Fios Channel 45, and on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. Now, White Plains Week.
Good evening. This is John Bailey, the old White Plains Citizen-Net reporter, with you, and with Jim Benerofe, the Dean of Journalism in the city of White Plains, and this is White Plains Week. Jim, the headlines, please.
And here are the headlines for the week of May 17th, 2019. Playland opens, draws largest crowd in 7 years. County Executive Latimer's attendance plans unveiled to boost attendance. The county has 11 days to reach agreement with Standard Amusements to compromise on Playland. Otherwise, county expects a lawsuit. A New York Supreme Court judge rules Democratic Common Council primary challenger Kat Breslin off the ballot in the June 25th primary. She is appealing the ruling May 22nd. Ms. Bresler will still be on the ballot, though, despite the court decision in November. Republican candidates aiming for the Democratic slate and Bresler will plan a series of town halls to heat up the campaign. Fasten seatbelts and get satellite radio to wait out the Memorial Day traffic tsunami next week. The school budget vote in White Plains is Tuesday, May 21st. Polls open 12 noon to 9 p.m. Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Ricka, explains in a video the resolutions on the back of the ballot. We'll also have a minute review of the 2019-2020 budget. The 2019 Laux Games were held at White Plains High School in the best weather the games have ever enjoyed in our memory. We'll have video of the inspiring action. Tim Conway, the funny lieutenant in the 1960s series McHale's Navy and Carol Burnett's sidekick, passes away. Doris Day, the actress who had never acted in her life before she was selected for the movie Romance on the High Seas, dies at 97.
Thank you, Jim. And right now we go to the White Plains Week video newsreel, and there they go. That was Playland on opening day last week, and it was a real successful one. Here next week, we see George Latimer being coached by Coaster, the new mascot to Playland, cutting the ribbon, and he got it right. And then next, he's welcoming the crowds, all set to go in. He's really good at this. And next on the slide, it's hard to tell at Playland who has the most fun, the little kids or the big kids. And anyway, this was a great opening. However, on Sunday it rained. Let's look at some of Mr. Latimer's plans. In Playland's last good year, 2017, there were 221,000 admissions on 17 weekends, that's Saturday and Sunday, and 37,000 beach and pool admissions. And on Memorial Day and July 4th, in 2017, they drew 13,700 and 16,600. Big crowds for a single day. And I can't imagine the park having that many people in one day, but they did. Now, what is George Latimer planning for Playland? To match 2017 attendance of 540,000, 13,000 a weekend, they would draw 221,000, 40,000 pool, or 260,000. He has set up 39 town days, 11 music specials, plus weekday attendance are planned. Each would have to average 5,000 an event to get attendance during the week of over 5,000. Weekday admissions, including the events, needs 17,000 a week to break 500,000. 35,000 admissions a week, including big weekends, for 570,000 admissions, which would be a big improvement. Remember, Jim, Standard Amusements is saying they wanted to raise attendance to 1 million when they first came on board. And what do you think? I think that's a lot of people during the week, even if the town events are well attended.
It's really hard to say. I think that Latimer is showing that he knows what to do, and the county knows what to do.
Yes.
And I personally am not a fan of turning it over to Standard Amusements.
Well, let's look at it this way. If you had remember their original proposal, which the county turned down, was to put in a catering place replacing the pool, plus add a lot of restaurants to have it be attendable in much more than it is now during the winter months. This was their strategy.
I'm not interested. I think the restaurants is a great idea, and I think it should be done.
Right.
But I am not willing to take out the pool to do that. I would build a swimming facility there that would be second to none.
Right. They could do both. They could do both.
That's what I'm saying.
With the attendance like that, they do not have the parking to handle that on a regular basis. And if the city of Rye complains,
well, how many parking spaces do they have?
I don't know. But I mean, when you have a big day like a Memorial Day, they are parked all over the place. The parking lot is jammed, and but that is something that will be a nice problem to have if this projection comes through. So, meanwhile, there is news on the political front, which this sort of broke this week. On May the 7th, a judge made a decision that removed Kim Bresler, who challenged the three candidates nominated by the Democratic City Committee in a primary, and her primary positions were denied for insufficient signatures. And then the Democrats, when they saw that the Board of Elections had approved her signatures, challenged them, went to court, and the judge re-examined the signatures and found many and denied enough to keep her off the ballot. Now, what is happening here now is that Ms. Bresler is appealing the judge's ruling. And we shall see what happens down in the Second Circuit Court down in Brooklyn. And this will be an intriguing decision for the Court of Appeals to make, because here is the Board of Elections being overruled by a judge. And this will be an interesting result. And meanwhile, Bresler will still be on the ballot in November because the Working Families Party nominated her. So she is going. So this will be perhaps an interesting race. How do you think having Bresler on the ballot in November and the Republicans' chances are. You've got Andrew Custodio, Brian Peroni, and Anne Marie Encarnaco challenging the three nominated Democratic candidates. Do you think the Republicans slip one in if Bresler takes votes away from the Democrats, or what?
It's hard to say. I don't have a good handle on the voting public now, and I don't know. I don't know if there's an increased number of voters. I assume there is because of all the new apartments. But I can't read the public now as far as the council's concerned.
Well, it depends on whether you feel that a totally Democrat council is a good thing. I think that's you have Custodio, who is running for Republicans, who is well known on this Council of Neighborhood Associations, but we have had good candidates run by the Republicans before. Terrence Guerriere comes to mind, very well respected.
Well, I think Terrence Guerriere was a much better candidate than any of the three that are running now. I don't know the three well. I did hear some of the show. I was not on it that you did with them. You know, I wasn't impressed. I don't know any of them really personally, but
depends on what they do, and they need to start doing it. I was speaking to Mr. Custodio recently, and he was saying that the Republicans are now trying to organize some town halls around the town to get themselves known and get some presence going. Now, there was going to be a primary forum by the League of Women Voters on June the 17th for if Bresler was running.
I don't know how many of these candidates have been attending common council meetings. You have any idea?
I
think
haven't
that's
seen
an important
any.
factor in picking
I haven't
candidates.
seen it.
You have to really have attended a lot of council meetings in the past year or so before you run, if you're going to run. Otherwise,
Nick Wolf did that, and they didn't nominate him anyway.
Who did that?
Nick Wolf, the realtor. He was under the impression he might be nominated for common council, but he was not. But he attended meetings to become familiar with the issues, which I thought showed he was truly interested in the job. But I think that's what anyone running for council needs to do.
I think that neither party, I don't know about the candidates that the Democrats are running, I was more impressed with them, with your interview with them. But I don't know how many council meetings they have attended.
No, I don't either.
There's three things that they have to worry about if they're running. They have to familiarize themselves with the budget and the procedure of approving it. They have to familiarize themselves with the city charter and how that works. And they have to attend council meetings.
Definitely, and speak out on issues that they feel concern them. Speaking out is a way to get known. Now, let's go to a very important item that's coming up on May the 21st, and that is the school budget. And last week, we had a clip of Dr. Joseph Rickett, the superintendent of schools, who talked about the budget, and today we're taking another clip from that People to Be Heard show, and he tells us about two important resolutions that voters will also have a chance to vote on, which will, he feels, assure budget savings in the future. Let's go to Dr. Rickett.
Good planning, good thinking, years ago allows us to come this year with a question related to our capital. And I cannot be clear or too clear on this. That $6.4 million that we're asking the community to support us in putting into our capital program does not impact the taxpayer. That's money that's already been set aside. So there is no tax increase, there's no additional cost, but we do have to ask for permission. So what you saw on that slide is you saw that we're, again, focusing on our planning. We're looking to take care of some items in the courtyard and at Highlands, including windows and lintels and some repointing. We're also looking to revamp, redo, if you will, returf Parker Field, and which has come to the end of its useful life. At the high school, we're looking to, again, put resources into our security system. I think we will save somewhere around $1.3 million in associated fees and bonding interest and costs.
Interest expense.
That we would have incurred if we didn't have the capital reserve.
And I think the debt that you have is about 8.9, which is less than I think it's ever been that I can remember.
It has. It
Yes.
has. Yes. So the
And
district
so
had done a refinancing of its debt 3 years
the
ago.
refinancing number, they're very good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So in
When
order
the
to
rates
bring
were
down
low.
interest rates and to start to pay that off, so it has been very beneficial.
Now, the next proposition that's going to be on the ballot is perhaps the most important, and it is well, why don't you explain it? The slide says it all. A new capital reserve.
Right. So the capital reserve we have now has come to the end of its life and the end of our ability to fund it. We have to ask for permission to create a new one.
Correct. And just a note that the existing one, we'll still be able to come back and continue to ask taxpayers to expend from that. But in order to continue our savings process, we're asking for a new capital reserve.
25 million over 10 years. And folks ask, well, how much can you put in each year? How much? It really depends. It depends on how much we're able to find at the end of the year to be able to put in. But we want the ability to do it. And I think what's been demonstrated over the course of the last several years with the capital reserve is that by having it available, we've been able to significantly save taxpayer dollars associated with capital improvement while making sure that we're taking care of the people's building.
And those resolutions, you can see that entire interview with Dr. Ricca and Ann Vaccaro-Tesch on People to Be Heard Saturday at 8 or on the wpcommunitymedia.org website. And they'll tell you the reasons for doing many of the things they did. Let's take a quick look at the budget that White Plains will be voting on. There is the budget. It's $226,588,509. The tax levy increase is 3.44%. Next slide, please. The expense categories show you what they are spending it on. Biggest part is the curriculum and instruction. That's all people, folks. And the adopted budget in 2019-20 is a total of $226,588,509, and a good reason for that is that we got more school aid. Let's take a look at the next slide. And this is the contingency budget that will happen if this budget is voted down. And you can see down there they would have to, in the lower left-hand corner, $606,300,000 would have to be cut out of the budget if the vote is turned down. Next slide, please. We have here the increase in school aid, an 11.10% increase on an unprecedented number, making the school district 57% funded. And if this trend continues, we will get a lot more school aid to aid us in the future. Let's hope this does happen. Next slide up, please. Now, what is the city and school budget total tax impact? This is for the $13,500 assessed home for the city. The city taxpayer with that type of assessed home pays $77 more, for a total of $2,930, plus $9,000 to the schools total for $12,002. That's on the $13,500 assessed home. For the $16,500 assessed home, the median home, they pay $84 more, $3,576 up from $3,482 from the city. Not bad. Plus the $11,082 in school taxes, the total $14,658. That is for the median assessed home. If you have a home assessed more than that, your tax increase, of course, is going to be more. Now, so say you have a $20,475 assessed home. You pay $117 more to the city, up to $4,444 total, plus $13,760 from the school's tax, for $18,203 in taxes paid to the city and the schools. So generally, this is what happens with a generally frugal budget, would you not say? So this compounding of the budget on the rollover is what keeps the school district going up at this pace. What do you think of the budget, Jim?
Well, I think the budget is pretty good. I mean, Rick is a very impressive guy as far as because you know, I think he's got a good handle on things.
Well, he's not afraid of stating the truth. He doesn't hide it, which is a pleasant thing. But, you know, he's very critical of the state education department on the assessments, not the assessments, the academic assessments. But on the other hand, you know, it's refreshing to see someone who says the facts about the budget and explains why it has to be that way. Because if they cut the budget because they get extra school aid, whatever, or they get an what happens is you are limited to that budget. You can't ease it up anymore the next year. So you're actually hurting the future if you need the money. You never get that money back. And that's the important thing to remember when you feel that schools are taxing you too much. Now, there's an important issue coming on, and that is traffic. Let's have my traffic picture, please. If we can have that. There we are. Last weekend, on that beautiful Saturday, I traveled down to the Toms River area of New Jersey, and for a family gathering. And I returned, and what usually takes about an hour and 20 minutes to where we were going, took me 3.5 hours. The traffic was unreal going up the Jersey Turnpike. And we finally reached the George Washington Bridge. We were within 4 miles of crossing the bridge, and it was going to predicted that it would take us 34 minutes to get to the bridge, to travel 4 miles. That's how bad it was last week on the first good day. And Jim, the traffic in the New York metropolitan area is unsustainable.
That's for sure.
It really is. So I urge everybody to get a hold of satellite radio, because you're going to be listening to it a lot next weekend. And truly, there are too many cars, there's too much traffic, there's too much construction, you know, which delays a lot, and done at really bad times.
Well, to push, I don't want to take too much time with this, but to push this locally, this morning when I came in, there was an accident at the corner of Maple Avenue and Mamaroneck Avenue. And I don't know if anybody was hurt, but it was like 2 Suburbans or SUVs collided direct on. I don't know what, one was making a turn. They were both making turns, I guess. And they hit, and it was really screwing up traffic. Then I got further down and I turned on Martine, and there was a flatbed picking up a car there. I don't know what it was all about, but it was, of course, interfering with traffic also.
White Plains streets are totally disrupted by the slightest closures of lanes. And as the development of the train station develops, and we still don't know what they're planning on down there on the proposals for the 4 city parcels, but it has to be looked at. They have to build a lot more parking for that station, number one. I don't know how they're going to do that, and because you've got to get people on the trains, but they have to park to do that. and they have to run more trains. The MTA and the traffic planners have bungled this on all sides. We're not going to do the railroad link to Rockland any time in our lifetime. And they should really do that. They should have done that. Missed opportunity by the governor. But anyway, we can talk about traffic, and I'm sure we'll have some information on that. Now, Tim Conway passed away this week, and he, of course, he was on my father's favorite sitcom back in the 60s, McHale's Navy. My father was in the Coast Guard, and he liked that show because it was funny, but it portrayed the Navy men as patriotic and competent and able to carry the fight to the enemy when needed. It was a unique combination, and sort of in its attitude, it presaged the MASH program. But Tim Conway, well known as a sidekick of Carol Burnett, but a very funny fellow and a Emmy Award winner. And of course, anyone who remembers Que Sera Sera, it was my mother's favorite song, which Doris Day, the actress who died this week at 97, and she was a star of the first magnitude, and her first acting job was in a movie, and that movie was Romance on the High Seas, and she had never acted before, ever. And it was a big hit movie, and her career started off. She was also a singer with Les Brown, and of course she had freckles, as you can see there. What a loss! And I recommend Pillow Talk. I believe that was the movie, and she also won the Academy Award for Love Me or Leave Me. So she could act. She mesmerized. And this last weekend, the Laux Games debuted and had the best weather ever. Let's take a look at some of the action there. There are the stands, well attended, and they saw a lot of sterling action.
Of St. Augustine.
That's the javelin throw, which is very impressive, and I watched a little of that. This is the discus thrower, a discus thrower, and the performances in the discus were pushing records across the state and at this meet. This is the women's 100 yards dash heat, A heat. And these races are far more exciting in person than on video. And this is one of the highlights. This is one of the heats in a mile. And it was an outstanding race. The jockeying around was spectacular. But right now, this is John Bailey for Jim Benerofe saying good night for White Plains Week.
This has been White Plains Week, news and commentary about White Plains, Westchester, and the world. The views and opinions expressed on this program were solely those of the participants. White Plains Week, produced by White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, and presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76 and Verizon Fios Channel 45. You may view White Plains Week anytime on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. For White Plains Week, this is Peter Katz speaking.